This story begins deep in the wild. A lion cub's desperate cry cuts through the savanna air, echoing like a call for help no one can ignore. The sun beats down mercilessly on the tall grass, turning every shadow into a secret and every sound into a threat. Somewhere out there beneath the dry whispers of wind and the hum of distant flies, something terrible has happened. In this unforgiving land, survival is never guaranteed. So before we dive in, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy these emotional stories. Comment below your favorite animal, and let's begin. The camera of your mind glides low across the plain. Waves of yellow grass sway beneath the heat. You hear it again, a roar that cracks into a whimper. A lion, the king of this realm reduced to a trembling echo. You follow the sound until it breaks into sight. A massive male lion pinned under the splintered remains of a fallen acacia tree. One paw twisted, his mane matted with dust and blood. His amber eyes flare toward the sky, but no help comes. Nearby, scavengers wait. A pair of vultures perch atop a termite mound, heads tilting in rhythm with every weak movement. In the tall grass, unseen but watching, a pack of hyenas circles, slow, patient, and cruel. The lion roars once more, but even that sound is fading. Across the dry plain, another figure wanders, small, thin, unnoticed. A stray dog, ribs visible, fur patchy, limping from days without food. He pauses, head lifted. The distant roar makes his ears twitch. The dog hesitates, tail low, then takes a cautious step toward the sound. He doesn't know why. Maybe instinct, maybe something deeper. But with each cry, his pace quickens. The ground hardens beneath his paws, thorns scrape his sides, yet he keeps going. The cries guide him like a compass made of fear and courage intertwined. Minutes pass. The wind rises. And there, through the broken brush, he sees it. A creature unlike any he's ever seen, fierce yet vulnerable, the king of beasts brought to his knees by nature's cruel accident. The lion's gaze finds him, and for one suspended moment, predator and scavenger lock eyes, not as enemies, but as survivors of the same unforgiving world. The dog lowers his head and whines softly. The lion blinks, almost in disbelief, before collapsing back into the dirt. His breath rasps. The dog edges closer, sniffing, circling, his instincts at war with compassion. He senses time slipping away like sand through an open paw. The savanna holds its breath. Every sound, every flutter of wings pauses, as if the land itself is watching. And then, faintly from somewhere beyond the ridge, a low rumble, an engine maybe, a human presence. But in the tall grass, something else stirs first. The dry wind carries the scent of dust and desperation. The dog follows it like a trail of invisible smoke, each step crunching through brittle soil. Ahead, the lion lies still beneath the twisted branches of the fallen tree, one massive paw pinned by a thick root. His sides rise and fall unevenly, a shallow rhythm that tells a clear story. He's losing strength. The dog creeps forward low to the ground. Every survival instinct screams to run, but something stronger, curiosity, empathy, or maybe fate, keeps him moving. He stops just outside the lion's reach, his small chest heaving, his eyes wide and glinting. The lion growls, a deep rumble that shakes the dust from nearby leaves, but it isn't a threat. It's pain. The dog tilts his head, ears flicking back. Slowly, he circles to the other side, sniffing the air thick with blood and earth. The lion's paw is wedged between the gnarled wood and a buried rock, crushed by the weight. Each breath rattles through his chest like dry thunder. The camera of your mind pans wider, a barren stretch of savanna dotted with bones and cracked mud. Overhead, vultures spiral, their shadows sliding across the lion's golden coat. They're waiting, patient as time itself. The lion's once proud mane is tangled with thorns, his jaw trembling. The dog barks suddenly, a short, sharp cry that startles even the wind. The lion's eyes open wider, the faint spark of awareness flickering. The dog barks again, louder this time, a defiant challenge to the silence of the wild. It's as if he's calling out for help, not for himself, but for the fallen king before him. He starts to dig, clumsy but determined, scratching at the packed soil around the lion's paw. Each scoop of dirt flies into the air, sticking to his muzzle, his paws raw and trembling. The lion groans, a low guttural sound that vibrates through the ground. The dog pauses, panting hard, then continues, his small body a blur of motion against the giant stillness. The camera shifts. Far in the distance, a column of dust begins to rise. The faint growl of an engine grows louder, blending with the wind. A ranger's jeep, green, sun-faded, bouncing along the rugged path. The dog's frantic barking echoes across the plain, a signal breaking through the monotony of the wild. Inside the jeep, two rangers exchange puzzled looks. "You hear that?" one says, leaning forward. "Yeah, sounds like a dog. Out here." They steer toward the sound, the vehicle rattling through dry shrubs. Back at the scene, the lion's breathing grows weaker. His paw bleeds where bark and stone grind together. The dog stops digging just long enough to lick the wound, whimpering softly. For a brief second, the lion exhales, not a growl but a sigh. A moment of recognition, maybe gratitude. Then from beyond the hill, the rumble grows louder. The dog turns his head, ears perked. Help might finally be coming. But in the shimmering heat behind him, another shadow moves, four-legged, low and silent. The hyena's laugh cuts through the air, sharp, mocking and close. The dog freezes, his heart pounding like a drum. He turns slowly, seeing the flicker of movement through the tall grass. One pair of yellow eyes, then another and another. A small pack, 5 in total, slinking toward the wounded lion and the trembling stray. The lion stirs weakly, his instinct rising even through the haze of pain. He tries to stand, muscles trembling, but the fallen tree pins him hard. He growls, low and ragged, enough to make the nearest hyena pause. The dog steps forward, hackles raised, a sound like a snarl breaking from his throat, more defiance than threat. He's half their size, but he plants himself between the predators and the trapped king. The scene unfolds in slow motion, dust swirling, sunlight flashing against fur and bone, the two unlikely allies standing shoulder to shoulder. The dog barks again and again, voice cracking but fierce. The hyenas spread out, circling, their shadows sliding closer. The lion roars once more, a roar weakened but still heavy with command. For a moment the hyenas hesitate. From far away, a vulture cries. The rangers are still minutes out. Time here is measured in heartbeats. The dog darts forward suddenly, nipping at one hyena's leg before leaping back. The startled predator snaps at him, missing by inches. The lion slams his tail, dust rising like smoke. It's enough to confuse them for now. You can almost hear the dog's breathing, fast and harsh, every exhale a declaration that he will not back down. The lion watches him, disbelief flickering in his eyes. In this wild world, alliances like this shouldn't exist. And yet here they are, a stray and a sovereign fighting the same battle. The dog barks again, a desperate, hoarse sound that echoes down the dry valley. Somewhere beyond the ridge, the rangers catch it. Clearer now. The driver presses harder on the pedal, the jeep rattling toward the noise. The hyenas regroup, testing their luck, inching closer. One lunges, the dog dodges, growling. His paw scrapes the ground, but he stands firm. The lion, using what little strength remains, pushes against the tree with a deep guttural grunt. The bark creaks, a few roots give way. The dog glances back, eyes wide. Could he actually be helping? The air is thick with tension. One of the hyenas growls and leaps again. This time the lion reacts. His paw jerks free just enough to swipe, a flash of claws cutting through the dust. The hyena yelps and retreats, limping into the tall grass. The rest scatter for a moment, startled by the sudden display of power. The dog stands panting, tail low but proud. He looks up at the lion. The exhausted king lowers his head slightly, a silent nod of respect. The ranger's engine hum grows louder now, echoing across the plain like the first notes of salvation. The dog barks toward it, his voice cracking but full of hope. But behind him, where the hyenas fled, the grass rustles again, heavier this time, deeper. Something larger is moving closer. The rustle deepens into a tremor, something heavy, deliberate, pushing through the undergrowth. The dog turns, teeth bared, as the lion lifts his head weakly. The grass parts, and a dark shape emerges. A massive Cape buffalo, its horns curved like scythes, eyes red with dust and rage. It's been drawn here by the noise, the smell of blood, the confusion. The dog steps back instinctively, ears flat. Even the hyenas vanish, melting into the brush. The buffalo snorts, stamping its hooves, glaring at the wounded lion. Out here, grudges run deep. Lions prey on calves, and now this bull senses revenge. The lion tries to rise, dragging his trapped paw with a strangled growl, but collapses again. The buffalo lowers its head. The dog, trembling, glances between them, fight or flee. Survival says run, but he doesn't. Instead, he barks, sharp and urgent, trying to draw the buffalo's focus away. The beast's head snaps toward him, nostrils flaring. The dog darts sideways, barking again, voice echoing across the dry plain. Dust kicks up as the buffalo charges. The earth shakes. The lion roars weakly, and the dog leaps aside just in time, the horns grazing the air where he stood. The buffalo crashes into the fallen tree, splintering a branch. The sound echoes like thunder. The impact shakes loose part of the trunk, pinning the lion. He jerks in pain, but something shifts. The pressure lessens. He roars, a sound of agony and hope tangled together. The dog, still barking, runs wide circles, keeping the buffalo's attention. His paws bleed, his breaths come ragged, but he refuses to stop. And then, distant voices. "Over there! Do you see the dust?" The ranger's jeep crests the ridge, sunlight flashing off the windshield. The driver slams the brakes. Both men leap out, rifles slung, tranquilizer darts ready. The buffalo turns, furious at the noise, pawing the ground. One ranger raises his rifle, breath steady, finger tightening on the trigger. Thwip! The dart flies, striking the beast's flank. The buffalo bellows and charges toward the new threat, horns low, but its steps falter. Within seconds it stumbles, collapsing in the grass. The dog stands frozen, chest heaving, eyes locked on the lion. The rangers rush forward cautiously, weapons still aimed. The lion growls as they approach, weak but warning. The dog stands in front of him, barking again, as if to say, "They're here to help." One ranger lowers his weapon. "Easy, boy," he whispers to the dog. "Easy." The other kneels near the lion's trapped paw. He's pinned under that branch. "We'll need leverage." They grab a metal rod from the jeep, sweat streaking their foreheads under the punishing sun. The lion's sides rise and fall rapidly, eyes rolling with pain. The dog whines, pacing beside them, tail down but unwavering. The rangers wedge the rod under the trunk and push. Wood creaks. The ground groans. And just as the trunk begins to shift, a distant rumble of thunder rolls across the horizon. Storm clouds gather, dark and heavy. The savannah holds its breath again. Something big is coming. The horizon burns orange, melting into the dry earth as dusk creeps across the savannah. Thunder growls in the distance, a storm moving fast. The rangers work with urgent precision, their hands trembling as they force the metal rod beneath the fallen tree. Every minute counts now. The lion's breathing is shallow, his paw swollen and slick with blood. The dog circles restlessly, barking at the darkening sky, as if he understands what's coming. The wind grows colder, carrying the scent of rain and fear. One ranger glances upward. "We have less than 30 minutes before that storm hits. If we don't move him now, he won't make it." The other nods, teeth gritted. "Push on 3. 1, 2, 3!" They heave together, muscles straining, the rod bending under pressure. The tree groans, splitting slightly, just enough to shift the weight. The lion roars, his paw sliding free with a sickening crack. The sound echoes through the open plains, startling birds into flight. The lion collapses again, panting, his body trembling from shock. "His leg's broken," the ranger mutters, kneeling beside him. "We need to sedate him before he hurts himself." The dog growls protectively as the syringe is prepared. His fur stands on end, but the ranger speaks softly. "Easy, boy. We're helping him." He moves carefully, injecting the tranquilizer into the lion's flank. Within moments, the beast's breathing steadies. His eyes flutter, finally closing. The wind intensifies. Leaves and dust whirl in tight spirals, the sky turning bruise purple. In the distance, flashes of lightning dance behind the storm wall. The rangers scramble to secure their gear. We'll have to drag him to the jeep before the rain hits. They fasten ropes around the lion's body, looping them through the winch. The dog trots beside them, whimpering softly each time the rope tightens. The engine groans as the winch pulls, the jeep's tires spinning against the hard ground. Slowly, inch by inch, the lion's massive frame slides free from the wreckage of the fallen tree. Thunder cracks overhead. A gust of wind tears across the plain, bending the tall grass sideways. The dog barks over the noise, his voice swallowed by the wind. The first drops of rain fall, darkening the dust like spilled ink. The rangers exchange tense glances. We can't leave now. The road'll flood. Then we stay, the other replies grimly, pulling a tarp from the jeep. They build a makeshift shelter beside the lion, staking it down against the wind. The dog curls beside the lion's mane, shivering but refusing to move. Lightning flashes, illuminating the surreal scene. A tranquilized lion, a loyal dog, and two men guarding them in the eye of the storm. The thunder rolls closer, louder, until it feels like the world itself is shaking. For a brief moment, all is chaos. Wind, rain, and fear tangled together. But amid it all, the dog doesn't flinch. He keeps his place by the lion's side, ears twitching, eyes fixed on the horizon. Then, through the roar of thunder, one of the rangers hears it, faint at first, then unmistakable. A distant roar answering from across the plains. The pride is coming home. The first light of dawn bleeds through a curtain of fading storm clouds. The world smells of wet earth and renewal. The lion lies motionless beneath the top, his chest rising in slow, rhythmic breaths. The rain has washed the dust from his mane, revealing streaks of deep gold beneath the mud. The dog, drenched and shivering, sits close by, eyes half closed but alert, watching the lion as if guarding something sacred. One ranger stirs the ashes of a dying fire, adding dry twigs to coax the thin flame. The other checks the lion's leg, carefully unwrapping the makeshift splint. Swelling's gone down, he murmurs. He's tough, but he's not out of danger. The dog inches closer, sniffing at the bandaged paw. The ranger smiles faintly. You've been his shadow all night, haven't you, little guy? In the quiet morning, the savannah feels strangely still, too still. The usual chorus of birds is absent. The storm has silenced everything. Even the air hums with unease. The rangers exchange wary glances. It's too quiet, one says under his breath. Predators move when it's like this. The dog's ears perk up. He growls softly, eyes fixed on a patch of grass swaying unnaturally near the horizon. The ranger reaches for his rifle, scanning the field. Then, movement. Two shapes, 3, 4, slender silhouettes gliding low through the mist. Hyenas, the ranger mutters. They've come back. The dog steps forward, teeth bared, barking furiously. The hyenas advance, their laughter sharp and mocking in the damp air. The rangers shout, waving their arms, firing a warning shot into the sky. The crack of the bullet echoes, scattering birds from distant trees, but the hyenas hesitate only for a moment before creeping closer again. The dog doesn't back down. He darts forward, barking with renewed fury. One of the hyenas lunges, jaws snapping, but the dog twists away, biting its leg before retreating. The rangers fire another shot, closer this time. The hyenas retreat into the fog, snarling in frustration. When silence returns, the dog collapses beside the lion, panting heavily. The rangers kneel beside him. "You're a brave one says softly, scratching behind his ears. "Braver than most men I've met out here." The lion stirs, blinking awake. His pupils adjust to the light, finding the small dog curled near his side. There's something different in his gaze now. Recognition, perhaps even gratitude. He exhales a long, low breath, the sound deep and resonant like the earth itself sighing. The rangers step back, giving space. "We did what we could," one says quietly. "Now it's up to him." The dog nudges the lion's paw gently, tail wagging once. The lion's ear twitches, then his massive head lowers just enough to brush against the dog's shoulder. It's not affection as humans know it. It's acknowledgement, the silent bond of survivors who've shared the edge of death and come back. In the distance, the sun breaks free from the last of the storm clouds, painting the plains in gold. The rangers squint into the light, and there, far off, silhouettes begin to appear. Lions, 5, maybe 6. The Pride. They found him, whispers one ranger. The dog stands, tail stiff, as the shapes grow clearer. The lionesses moving in unison, cubs trailing behind. Their low growls rumble like thunder rolling home. But one question lingers in the air, heavy and real. Will they accept what stands beside their fallen king, or see only an intruder in their midst? The morning calm doesn't last. By midday, the heat returns, and with it, wind. At first, it's a faint whistle threading through the grass, but soon it swells into a roar. Loose sand begins to rise, swirling into a dense veil that blurs the horizon. The dog crouches low beside the lion, his fur rippling in the gusts. The rangers pull their scarves over their faces, shouting to one another, their words snatched away by the storm. The Pride halts on a ridge in the distance. Through the dancing haze of sand, their silhouettes waver and fade. The lionesses snarl softly, unsure whether to approach. Their leader, the wounded lion beneath the tarp, lifts his head and tries to roar, but only a strained breath escapes. The dog barks in response, his voice barely audible. The storm thickens. Visibility drops to almost nothing. The rangers scramble to secure their equipment, but the wind rips at their tarps, flinging grit against their skin. One of them yells, "We've got to cover the lion's face. He'll choke on this dust." They crouch down, shielding his nose and eyes with a cloth, but it's hard to keep anything still. The air tastes like ash, then movement in the storm. The dog squints through the haze and spots something massive shifting toward them. Not a hyena, not a buffalo, something slower, broader. One of the rangers sees it too. "What the hell is that?" he shouts over the wind. The shape resolves. A tree trunk rolling downhill, uprooted by the storm, tumbling straight toward the camp. "Move!" The men dive aside as the log crashes into the ground, splintering branches. The dog leaps out of the way just in time, but the impact sends shards flying. One cuts across his leg. He yelps and stumbles, blood streaking the dirt. The lion stirs, adrenaline cutting through the sedative haze. His head jerks up. His eyes, clouded but aware, find the struggling dog. In that moment, something primal stirs in him. He heaves his massive body upright, roaring against the storm. The sound is muffled but deep, echoing through the wind like a declaration of defiance. The Pride, still distant, hears it. The lionesses roar back. The storm rages between them, but now both sides are calling, one for survival, one for return. The rangers stare in awe as the lion sways, but stays on his feet. "He's standing," one whispers. "He shouldn't even be able to move." The dog limps closer, tail wagging weakly, pressing his body against the lion's leg, as if lending him strength. A sudden blast of wind tears through the camp again, knocking down gear and extinguishing their small fire. One ranger shields his eyes. "We need to get out of this zone before the next gust." But before they can move, the lion lurches forward a step, then another, heading straight into the storm, toward the ridge where his pride waits. The dog follows, limping but determined, vanishing into the swirling gold of dust and sunlight. Behind them, the rangers shout their names, but the wind swallows every word. Only the storm knows where they're going. The storm swallows everything. The sun disappears behind a curtain of gold and red dust, and the world turns into a swirling blur of sound and chaos. The lion pushes forward blindly, each step a battle against the wind. His broken paw drags behind him, leaving streaks of blood in the sand. The dog stays close to his side, his fur coated in dirt, his eyes barely open against the storm's fury. The rangers, half a mile behind, can't see a thing. One clutches the radio, shouting into static. "We've lost sight of him." The lion's heading north. Repeat, north. The wind answers with a roar louder than any beast. The storm's eye moves closer, compressing the air into a suffocating haze. Up ahead, the lion stumbles. His paw buckles, his body collapsing under its own weight. The dog yelps and circles him, pawing at his mane, trying to rouse him. The lion's eyes flicker open, cloudy with exhaustion. He growls low, almost apologetic, as if to say he can't go any further. The dog whines, refusing to accept it. He tugs at the lion's mane with his teeth, barks into his ear, desperate. Lightning flashes across the sky, and for a split second, the entire savannah is illuminated. Jagged trees, rolling dust, and the distant silhouettes of lionesses pacing anxiously at the ridge. The dog looks toward them, then back at the lion. His small frame trembles. The distance between them and safety feels impossible. But something deep in him, that same defiance that made him face down hyenas, flares to life again. He begins to bark, louder and louder, his voice carrying through the storm. It's faint, but it travels, the sound of a small creature daring the wild to listen. The pride hears it, and lioness, her ears twitching, turns toward the sound. Another follows, growling softly. They start to move, cautious but certain, guided by the echo of courage cutting through the wind. The lion, half-conscious, tries again to rise. His muscles tremble. He roars, a sound torn and broken, but still powerful enough to pierce the storm. The dog barks in answer, pressing his body against the lion's side, urging him onward. Together, step by step, they move through the storm. The lion leans heavily against him, and though the dog can barely stand, he refuses to fall back. The two figures, one great, one small, inch forward through the maelstrom like survivors carved from pure will. Then the ground gives way. The rain-softened earth collapses under their feet, revealing a hidden pit left by old poachers, a crude trap long forgotten. The lion slips first, his injured leg folding beneath him. The dog dives after him, barking frantically as both tumble into the hollow. Dust explodes into the air, the sound of their fall drowned by thunder. For a long moment nothing moves, only the sound of the storm above. Then a faint trembling whine. The dog, battered but alive, crawls to the lion's side. The pit isn't deep, but its walls are steep, slick with wet sand. The lion's eyes open halfway. The dog nudges his muzzle, licking his face. Above, through the haze, a beam of light breaks through the storm, a flashlight. The rangers have found them. But as they peer into the pit, one of them gasps. The lion's bleeding out. We're losing him. The flashlight beam trembles as the rangers look down into the pit. The lion lies motionless, his chest barely rising. Blood mixes with rainwater pooling beneath his paw. The dog whimpers, pacing back and forth, pawing at the muddy slope as if sheer willpower could lift his fallen friend. The storm still mutters overhead, thunder fading into the distance, leaving only the hiss of rain. "Get the harness!" one ranger yells, scrambling to the jeep. The other kneels at the edge, calling down, "Easy, boy! We're coming!" The dog barks up at him, voice hoarse but determined. Within minutes, the men lower a thick nylon rope into the pit, its end tied to a canvas sling. "If we can get this under him, we might lift him out," the ranger mutters. "But the dog, he's in the way." "Then let him help," the other replies. "He's earned it." They descend halfway, mud slipping beneath their boots. The dog stands between them and the lion, growling softly until one ranger holds out a hand. "Easy," he murmurs, voice steady. "We're friends." The dog hesitates, sniffing, then steps aside. Together, the men work fast, sliding the sling beneath the lion's torso, careful not to worsen the wound. "On three," the lead ranger shouts up. The winch begins to turn, gears grinding as it strains against the lion's massive weight. The rope tightens. The lion's body lifts an inch, then another. Rainwater drips from his mane as he's raised slowly, painfully, toward the surface. The dog scrambles up the slope beside him, slipping and sliding, but refusing to stop. His claws dig into the soft mud. His body quivers from exhaustion, yet his eyes never leave the lion. The rope jerks. One of the knots slips. The lion's weight sags, the rope squealing against the winch drum. "Hold it! Hold it!" the ranger yells, gripping the line. The dog barks in alarm, scrambling toward the lion's mane. For one terrifying second, it seems the rope will snap. Then a metallic clink. The gear locks. The line steadies. Slowly, inch by inch, the lion rises out of the pit. When his body reaches solid ground, the rangers rush forward, unclipping the harness. The lion's head lolls to one side, eyes half open, pupils clouded. The dog presses his face against the lion's cheek, whining softly, licking the dust from his muzzle. One ranger kneels and places a hand on the lion's chest. Faint heartbeat, he says quietly. Still there. The other ranger grabs the medical kit. Let's give him fluids. He's in shock. He inserts an IV tube, threading it carefully beneath the lion's skin. Clear liquid drips into the line. The dog sits beside them, watching every movement, ears perked, body tense as if guarding the operation. Minutes pass. Then a flicker, a twitch of the lion's paw. His breathing steadies, shallow but rhythmic. The rangers exchange a look of disbelief. He's fighting, one whispers. He's really fighting. The dog lets out a soft bark, tail wagging once, before he collapses beside the lion, head resting on his paw. The rain slows to a drizzle. The clouds break apart, revealing a band of gold stretching across the horizon. The first sunlight touches the lion's mane, making it glow like fire reborn. And then, weak but real, the lion exhales a deep, steady breath. The dog lifts his head, ears twitching, and nudges him gently. The lion opens his eyes. A low rumble escapes his throat, not a roar this time, but something softer, grateful. The rangers step back, awed into silence. The king lives. But as the wind dies, the sound of distant paw steps echoes through the grass. The pride is close. And not every reunion in the wild ends in peace. The savannah glows in the light of a new dawn. Mist curls above the wet grass, and the world feels reborn after the storm's rage. The lion stands weak but alive, his mane streaked with rain and dust. The dog lies beside him, motionless except for the rise and fall of shallow breaths. Around them, the rangers keep silent, awed by the fragile calm. Then from beyond the trees, a sound rises, a low, rhythmic rumble that grows into a chorus. The pride has arrived. 6 lionesses step into view, their golden coats shimmering in the pale morning sun. 2 cubs trail behind wide-eyed, their tiny paws leaving patterns in the mud. The leader of the lionesses halts, nostrils flaring as she takes in the scent of blood, metal, and humans. The lion lifts his head slowly, muscles trembling. He roars, not loud, not strong, but enough. It's a declaration of survival. A signal, I'm still here. The lionesses respond with a chorus of low growls, cautious but familiar. They move closer in a half-circle, their eyes shifting between the rangers, the jeep, and the small figure of the dog, standing guard over their wounded king. One lioness hisses, stepping forward. The rangers tense. The dog doesn't move. He meets her gaze, his body shaking but defiant. The lion watches in silence, his gaze flicking between his pride and the trembling creature who refused to leave him. For a long, breathless moment, nothing happens. Then the lion takes a single step forward, placing himself between the dog and his pride. The gesture is clear, a shield, not a threat. The lioness freezes, ears flattening. She exhales through her nose, then lowers her head in submission. The standoff breaks. The cubs scamper forward, curious, sniffing the dog before retreating behind their mother. The lion growls softly, turning his gaze back to the rangers. It's not hostility, it's acknowledgement. A silent truce. The men step back, giving him space. The lion limps toward the open plain, his pride following close behind. He pauses once to glance back. The dog, still too weak to stand, watches him go. Their eyes meet, 2 survivors bound by an impossible act of trust. The lion bows his head slightly before continuing onward, disappearing into the tall golden grass. The dog whines softly, tail thumping weakly against the ground. One ranger kneels beside him, smiling faintly. "You did it, buddy," he whispers. "You really did it?" The sky brightens, the clouds parting fully now. Sunlight spills across the savannah, glinting off every blade of grass and droplet of water. Somewhere in the distance, the lion's roar echoes again, this time full and powerful, rolling like thunder across the plains. The rangers load the dog into the jeep, wrapping him in a blanket. As they drive away, the camera of the story pans wide. The endless savanna stretching beneath a sky washed clean by rain, life moving forward once more. For now the wild is at peace. The danger has passed. The storm's breath has faded into a soft whisper that glides over the open plains. The earth, once cracked and harsh, now glistens under a wash of golden morning light. Birds return to the acacia branches, shaking droplets from their wings. The savanna exhales. At the ranger station, the dog rests beneath a canvas awning, bandaged but calm. His eyes follow the horizon where the lion disappeared hours ago. The rangers move quietly around him, tending to gear and wounds, but every now and then one stops just to look, to remind themselves they witness something few ever do. Out there, beyond the tall grass, the lion walks again. His limp is heavy, but his spirit is not. The pride surrounds him, cubs weaving between his legs, lionesses brushing their heads against his shoulders. He pauses on a rise, mane glowing in the sunlight, and looks once more toward the distant human outpost. Somewhere, maybe in instinct, maybe in memory, he remembers the small creature who stood beside him when all seemed lost. The wind moves gently now, carrying the faint echo of two hearts that met between survival and trust. One wild, one loyal, both forever changed. The sun dips low again, painting the sky in amber and rose. Peace has returned, and the savanna rests once more.